Hey, what's up? Welcome back to True Crime Unraveled. I'm your host, Robert. I hope you guys are having a good Monday morning, afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. What I want to talk to you guys about today is, I keep hearing the same old stuff about the knife sheath, the knife sheath, the knife sheath. Well, what if the knife sheath was actually planted? That's another thing I'm hearing. Well, there's a good possibility it could be planted. Because they did find uh, two unknown male DNAs in the house. That uh, they found one on the railing going up to the second floor. Now that would show that whoever committed these crimes would have left through the front door and not the sliding glass door, because we've heard that that home is an iconic home, and we've heard from Olivia Gonzalez that everyone in that neighborhood knew the code to the front door. So, someone could have used the code to get in the front door, left the front door open, and then committed these horrendous crimes, and then turned around and left through the front door, because they did find blood on the railing going up to the second floor. So that would mean someone would have to have left from the second floor, down the stairs, and out the door. And could the knife sheath be planted? Yes. Uh, could Brian have looked at that knife at a store or something like that, and was playing around with the knife, and it was playing around with the button snap, and somebody came in and purchased that same knife with the knife sheath, and that's how Brian's touch DNA got on the knife sheath. Was he looked at that knife either at a store, or or a friend of his may have had the knife, and he was fascinated about the K-bar knife and was playing around with the button snap. That's these are all viable theories and possibilities on how his touch DNA got on that knife sheath, because we've heard many different theories on where the knife sheath was found at, and some say it was found under Maddie's body. Well, if it was under Maddie's body, then Brett Payne wouldn't have been able to notice it when he walked into the bedroom. And he clearly stated in that probable crap affidavit that he could see the knife sheath laying on Maddie's right side. So, that kills that theory that it was under her body, because he wouldn't have been able to see it, you know, clearly from the door walking in. And then we've heard from uh, Mr. Go Away, Howard Bloom. That's what I want him to do, is go away. That supposedly Brian brought vials of blood with him, and to throw the investigators off, and that is the most ridiculous, preposterous thing I've ever heard. And Howard Bloom was making crap up during that interview with Megan Kelly. But what they talked about is a very viable scenario, that the FBI broke the law. There was no chain of custody when it came to the IGG information. And Ann Taylor even stated that in court. There was no chain of custody when it came to the IGG. The ISP uh, gave it to Othram. Othram gave it to the FBI. And then the FBI broke two terms of service with two private DNA companies that prohibited law enforcement from uploading genetic information. And one of them was called MyHeritage. And that just goes to show you that they were desperate to find out whoever did this horrendous crime, and They were looking for someone to frame, and they just happened to come across Koberger because why in the heck on the 25th would you have one WSU policeman querying White Elantras and coming across uh, yeah, Koberger's Elantra there in the parking lot and looking at his ID, and then you about 30 minutes later you had a different WSU police officer driving around the parking lot and coming across Brian's White Elantra, and it was not the correct year. It was a 2015 because the FBI vehicle guy, yeah, at first said 2011 to 2013, and then they switched it to 2011 to 2016. So clearly they don't know what the heck they're doing. I would, if I was the My Heritage, I would be suing the FBI because they broke their terms of service. That's what I would be doing if I was the owner of My Heritage. I would be suing the FBI for violating terms of service, knowing that law enforcement agencies weren't allowed to upload genetic information because it's a private company that that people pay for to find their ancestors, find lost relatives, and I'm sure that these people that's paying for uh, this service are now afraid to upload their genetic information because the FBI broke the terms of service, and clearly, uh, they don't want the FBI thinking that they did something wrong. That's just in my honest and humble opinion that the FBI uh, broke the law, and this genetic information should be thrown out because it does go with the fruit of the poisonous tree. Scenario that goes on sometimes in these cases. But another thing that was, I don't know if she misspoke. Megan Kelly. I don't know if she misspoke or if she was talking about Ashlyn Couch, but she said that the other roommate wasn't home that night. So what came to my mind was she was talking about Bethany Funk because Bethany Funk was the other roommate that was supposed to be home that night because it was Bethany, Dylan, um, Xana, Maddie, Kaylee, and of course Ethan. I don't know if he was staying the night or if he was just staying there temporarily till he was able to get back into Sigma Chi because he was suspended for 2 weeks. But when she said the other roommate wasn't home, that instantly made me think of Bethany Funk because if that is true that Bethany Funk wasn't home, that would explain why she wasn't in the PCA, the probable crap affidavit. She was in there long enough where it stated the forensic downloads of records from Bethany and Dylan's phone, and that also makes me wonder if, in my honest opinion, if that's the exculpatory evidence that Bethany has. What Ann Taylor was trying to get from her is the fact that she wasn't home that night. That could be the exculpatory evidence that Bethany has, and what Ann Taylor and Masseth and Logston was trying to get her to testify to in the early stages of the hearings is the fact that she could testify she wasn't home that night. But of course Bethany um, lawyered up, and her lawyer was trying to get the subpoena quashed because Bethany didn't want to come back to Idaho uh, because she was afraid of being charged. And what could she be charged for is obstruction of justice. Just by some chance that Megan Kelly did misspeak, Bethany and Dylan both could be charged with obstruction of justice because they didn't call 911 for 8 hours. And what's even more crazy is the fact that Dylan uh, changed her story multiple times. The first two interviews with MPD, she stood tall, said that she didn't see nothing, didn't know nothing, that she didn't know if it was real or a dream. So that would mean the description of the person that she saw, you know, is not viable because she didn't know if it was real or a dream. Then the third interview that she had with the law enforcement, she flat out just said that I was really, really drunk and I didn't know what was going on. So, yeah, yeah, she opened her door 3 times that night, and we've read that in the PCA. And that third time, when she said she saw the killer walking by, and she gave that generic description of 5'10" or taller, athletically built, not muscular, bushy eyebrows. She thought that she was dreaming it. So clearly, that part of the PCA with her description should be removed from the PCA. And even Jennings, Hushley Jennings, stated in court that the PCA is irrelevant now since they're so far into the hearings. It's irrelevant. Okay, so why is it irrelevant? Is it irrelevant because um, Dylan lied in the PCA about what she saw that night? Is it irrelevant because Dylan changed her story numerous times after after the murders, talking to the police? Is that why it's irrelevant? Possibility, maybe. We will we will never know exactly what happened in that house that night, because the timelines keep shifting. Yes, they keep shifting. Um, and I don't believe that the murders took place between 4 and 4:25. There was all that activity around the house between 2:54 and 3:16. And what's even more ironic is that Kaylee's phone went offline at 2:56. Not at 4 a.m., not at 4:04 a.m., not at 4:15 a.m., not at 4:20 a.m. It went offline at 2:56. And what happened in between 2:54 and 3:16 was that alcohol stop on Banfield. And we all saw Saeed, and he was tall, he had bushy eyebrows, and then you had those three individuals that were stopped by the cops, and one of the individuals said that he thought the cops were fake people. And also during that stop, you could see 4 or 5 people run on is caught on body cam, and the cop was trying to turn his body camera away, but you saw 4 or 5 people running or fast walking from the vicinity of 1122 King Road, and they were headed towards Sigma Chi. And it's ironic that you see those people, and Kaylee's phone goes offline at 2:56. So clearly, the murders happened well before the 4 a.m. timeline that we've all been fed by the MPD, law enforcement in general, uh, the media, Ashley Banfield, Nancy Grace, Megan Kelly, we've all been fed this false narrative about when the murders actually happened, when it's been sitting in front of our face the whole time. Clearly, it happened between 2:54 and 3:16 in the morning. But see, according to Brett Payne and Blaker and all those other MPD officers and Bill Thompson, none of that matters. Yeah, it doesn't matter to them because suspect vehicle 1 didn't come into the scene until 3:29. So it boggles my mind how yeah how they want us to believe this certain narrative, and they get pissy when their narrative is basically getting crumbled in front of them, and mainly by Ann Taylor. And exactly why was um, that section of testimony by Dylan to the MPD that she didn't see nothing, didn't know nothing, she was drunk? Why was that left out of the initial report to Megan Kelly? Not Megan Kelly, Megan Marshall, the magistrate judge. Uh, and they said they had probable cause. Well, probable cause be damned. That sounds like to me that they're covering up their quote unquote star witness, and their star witness has now been discredited in court by Ann Taylor. So, what's really going on in this case? And you need to ask yourself, am I being told the truth in this case? Is this case actually really transparent? And no, it's not transparent at all. It's not. I mean, yes, yeah, they're sealing and redacting everything so Brian can get a fair trial, but they would have never had to do the change of venue if it hadn't been for people like Nancy Grace, people like Ashley Banfield. Um, Now, I'm not knocking them because they lost a daughter, but people like the Gonzalez family that did their own jury surveys. They're in Latah County. And that prompted for the change of venue. But, watching how Judge Hippler is, he's very by the book, and you can clearly tell that he didn't want this case at all. But it makes me wonder if the prosecution and the defense are now regretting the change of venue because of how Hippler is. See, when they were in front of Judge, he was very laid back, laughing and joking, and clearly you could tell the defense was in charge when they were in front of Judge. Well, now they're in front of Judge Hippler. No one's really in charge except him, because he pushes back against um, Ann Taylor. He pushes back against Massoth. He pushes back against um, Ashley Jennings. You can clearly tell he does not want this case at all because of this statement he made during their very first hearing. I would say it's nice to meet you, but I wouldn't want to tell a half truth. And I mean, I hope and I pray that they have this Franks hearing, but the way the judge carries himself, you know, will the Franks hearing actually do any good, or will he just say, "Well, let's take this to trial," and let the jury of his peers decide his fate? That's the way it's sounding to me. He just wants this case out of his courtroom. So what's the best way to do it? Just take it to trial, let the jury do what they do, and an innocent man could be found guilty and put to death. But of course, Stephen Christie, they want that. They want this man dead because of uh, one of the interviews. Christie said that she would forgive him once he's off the planet, and she hopes that he suffers in the very depths and agony of hell. So, we all, we all want justice for these victims, but we want the right justice and not the justice where a potential innocent man is going to be sentenced to death. If you like this video, please leave me a like. While you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This is True Crime Unraveled. Y'all have a good Monday afternoon. Peace.